What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Will Motivation back again with another video, and today we are talking about the comparison between the big two, the Porsche 911 Carrera T and the BMW M4 Competiton, both 2024 models. All right, so let's get this review started right away. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about both of them from an exterior and styling perspective, and then we're going to talk about both of them, my review on both of them. So I actually did a review already on this vehicle, so I'm going to share that as part of this video, and I'm getting ready to do a review on the Porsche 911, so we'll share that in this video, and then we'll talk about which one I recommend, between both of these cars based on what you might like. All right, so let's get it started. Right here we have the 2024 Porsche 911 Carrera T. This is not a base Carrera. Like a lot of people say, is the T a base Carrera? No, it's not a base Carrera. It's probably, I think, $10,000 to $20,000 more than the base Carrera. And it has some options on it that the base Carrera does not have. But a lot of people wonder, would it be better to get the Porsche 911 Carrera T or the BMW M4 Competiton? Because this is a two-door. This car actually has quite a bit more power, with roughly almost 500 horsepower in the BMW M4 Competiton, whereas this has 379 horsepower and around 300 foot-pound of torque. This has a whole lot more torque. This has an inline 6-cylinder engine that's rear engine. So it's the engine is actually on the rear of the car. Unfortunately, I can't pop this open to show you the engine, but I mean, if I popped open anything, the only thing you can pop open back here is this right here. So, but let's talk about the styling of the 911 Carrera T versus the styling of the BMW M4 Competiton. I would say, I like the wheels and everything I've done, and the little skirts and stuff that I've done on the M4. Let's walk around the M4. Got the windows tinted. It's got the carbon fiber roof, the carbon fiber mirror caps. It has the an aftermarket hood, which we're actually getting ready to take this car to get the aftermarket hood put on. It has a custom front bumper by Adro. Beautiful. But the overall shape of the car, I'm gonna have to give the Porsche the win on exterior looks. It looks a little bit more exotic and sporty than the M4, but I do believe with some slight changes to the look of the M4, maybe extending the rear out a little bit, shortening the front end, this could give the Porsche a run for its money in styling. But it's like it's missing something. The older M4, like the 2018 and around that time frame, they looked a little bit more exotic on the side, a little bit more styling. Whereas the newer G82 M4 kind of looks a little boring, like on the rear end and everything. It's all right. It's well put together, but it's just a little boring compared to the Porsche 911 Carrera T. So this one has 21-inch tires on the rear or rims and 20 on the front. And this one is all-wheel drive. So I didn't want to stagger because you have a bigger tire. So we have 20 in the front, 20 in the rear. Has the laser lights on the front. Lots of carbon fiber on the exterior, whereas the Porsche, I went light on the carbon fiber. I don't think we have any carbon fiber on the Porsche, and I'm completely happy with it. So I'm gonna let you guys see the review of the interior on the BMW and the drive of the BMW. Then we'll come back and talk about the Porsche 911 Carrera T interior and drive. All right, so here's the interior. Steering wheel, you got your M1 button, your M2 button. The highlight is this big giant screen. Look at the screen. Oh my goodness, the screen is crazy. You can put your CarPlay on here. Jump into CarPlay. Got Waze on here. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's a good. It's got CarPlay. It's wireless, so you don't actually have to connect it to a plug. But if you wanted to connect it to a plug, you could. All of the controls, like for the climate, for example, they're all in the screen. Where there used to be buttons like down here. Charging pad, 2 cup holders, your all of your controls for your main functions are here with your gear select here. Now what I'll do is I'll do a how to drive video separately. Oh, hold on, look at that, man. I forgot to take these off. Yeah, some unboxing therapy. But I'll do a separate video for how to drive. There's plenty of videos on the whole entertainment system, MMI, information system, or whatever. This is not going to be one of those videos. I just want to do a quick review and give you my impressions and my thoughts. So let's take this thing for a drive. I'm driving in M1 mode, which for me is slightly more aggressive transmission and throttle, and you can hear the engine as well. So, but I'm in all-wheel drive mode. My M2 setup is rear-wheel drive mode. Now, right off the bat, giving you my driving impressions. This is me coming from an RS5. This car is really pleasantly torquey. Lots of torque in the inline 6. There you go. Listen to that sound. Sounds awesome. But it's not overbearing. The sound is like not too much, but it sounds really good. The steering, so I'm gonna like go down the list, right? We'll start with the steering. I have the steering in sort of like comfort mode, but let's do an acceleration real quick. That's why you buy an M4. Let's stop kidding ourselves. That's why you buy an M4. So the steering has different modes. You can put it in comfort mode. You can put it in sport mode. Comfort mode is a little easier to steer. I like comfort mode because I'm not trying to be on a racetrack or whatever. But if you're like taking it to a track, which you absolutely could do in an M4, you could put it in sport mode and the steering would stiffen up. But the comfort mode for me is good. We gotta do another acceleration. Hold on. It sings. It sings. One of the problems I had an older M4, like a 2016. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. Woo. Man, this turned into a night drive video. I gotta get some gas too. All right, so where was I? Steering. All right, next thing on the list, suspension. How does the suspension feel? I give it that's actually sort of a weak point. If you ask me, maybe that's arguable because this is a sports car. But the steering for me is, I give it a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10. It's on the stiff side. And my problem with that is it has different modes of comfort on the steering. You can put it in sport or you can put it in comfort. So my thing is, if you have sport and comfort, make the sporty one the stiff one and make the comfort really actually comfortable. And in this car, it's pretty much stiff all the time, but it's not unbearable. It's not unbearable. It's tolerable. All right, so we got the steering, we got the suspension. Next thing on the list would be acceleration, which is my favorite thing and why, I wanted to have an all-wheel drive car. I wanted to be able to accelerate. And I give acceleration a 9.5 out of 10. It would be a 10 out of 10 after mods. But the platform allows you to mod, and you can get this car up to 750 plus horsepower with a few mods for relatively cheap. And this car will accelerate like a rocket ship. But out the gate, I mean, the acceleration is great. The best thing about it from like city and around town driving, let's hit it. Yeah, it's quick. Best thing about it is for around town driving, it's got a lot of torque and there's no turbo lag. Which for any turbo car, that's your concern. So it feels really good, like compared to my RS3. A lot of turbo lag in the RS3. It's not too bad, but it's better than it used to be. This car, you don't have any turbo lag, so it's pretty awesome. So I give it a 9.5 out of 10 out the box. So that's your acceleration. Features and comfort and like creature comforts and technology, I give it a 10 out of 10. This car has just about everything you can think of. I optioned the carbon fiber roof, so I don't have a sunroof, but it has everything. It has the adaptive cruise. It can drive by itself. It has the map in your driving area. You configure the driving area. Digital display. It has one of the biggest screens you can get in a sports car, right? Look how big that screen is. Huge. And you could you could do so many things with this car. You can configure to do so many things. You can pair your phone with the car to where you don't need your key to operate the car, and your phone can actually open the car, start the car, and you can roll out. I mean, this car's technology-wise, man, you name it, it has it. All right, we got to hit it right here. God dang. Man, it almost feels like, let me roll the window up. It almost feels like the car is already tuned. I kid you not. It almost feels like more power has been unleashed or something. Like since the first 200 miles that I put on it, it feels a lot stronger. So, man, this car is really just awesome. Like, if you're looking for a car overall, I give this car a 9.5 out of 10. I mean, this is one of the highest ranked cars that I've ever reviewed. The performance on this car is ridiculous. The features on this car are ridiculous. The comfort on this car is ridiculous. And it feels like an exotic car when you're driving it. And people actually will, like, you'll have reactions in this car. People will actually stop you and pull up to you and like want to see your car. But yeah, this was just a quick review on my BMW M4. Last thing I discussed was acceleration. Man, let me. Okay, so I just hit my M1 button to turn the exhaust off, and now you can hear it's not too loud. This is without the exhaust opened up. I gotta get some gas, man. Hans is over there gassing it. Yeah, this car is awesome though. The feel of this car, like the biggest car I can compare this to that I've owned would be the Audi RS5. I would say the RS5 feels a little better, like just the steering feel and responsiveness of the brakes and the responsiveness of the throttle. However, this car is a better car than the RS5. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. It outperforms the RS5, maybe I should say. But the RS5 is a beast, man. This car is just going to be way faster, and when you modify this car, it will slaughter any modified RS5. All right, so let's talk about the inside and the drive and how it is to drive this vehicle, and then we'll talk about which one I recommend for which buyer. Because if I had to say which car is better, let me talk about the price point first of all. Price point on the M4 is $105,000 for like almost completely loaded M4 Competition. This car is faster than the Porsche Carrera T. Good amount stronger. However, this one feels just as fast, even though it's not. And in stock for stock, it's just slightly slower than the BMW M4 Competition. Now, this one costs, the price on this one, so the price on that one was $105. The price of this one, the way I have it spec'd out, was $166. So this is going to cost you a lot more. It's rear wheel drive. So, you know, take that in consideration as the price. If you want the faster car, this might be it. And a cheaper car, this might be it. But if you want something that's going to kill on the track, or just to take out to the car shows, to enjoy driving characteristics, let's get inside and talk about this car. All right, so here's your view from the cockpit on the Porsche 911 Carrera T. As you can see, this one, I have the red stitching and the chalk gray accents, like you can see here in the interior. Chalk gray right there. So instead of doing carbon fiber, we did paint it. So we got chalk gray on the doors, right? I could have did carbon fiber. You have this Sport Tech seating, which is like a sturdy material, like a sturdy checkered material, black. And then you have leather on the outside, and then the red stitching, the 911 in the headrest. The cool thing about this, it does have back seats. They're not quite as big as the BMW M4 back seats, because those back seats in the M4 are very usable, as a matter of fact. Whereas the back seats in the Carrera T, I mean, you can get back there, but good luck getting even putting your feet down. But let's talk about how this thing drives, and then, you know, we can get into the comparison on the M4 as well. Let's start this thing up. All righty. Look at all the functionality on the steering wheel. You got this, you got this. We'll do a how to drive video on the Porsche 911, but right now we just wanted to review the car. And for those of you that are interested in a comparison to the M4, we'll have that in a separate video. But I mean, this car has full features and functionality, man. Anything you can think of, the car has it. Like, look at the screen right here. Let me close my garage door. Oops. All right, so reviewing the interior on the Porsche 911. I mean, it's very well laid out, German engineering. You got your memory seats, door locks, your mirror controls and your window controls. You have your gear selector here. If there's something I don't like about it, it would be this little gear selector. I think it should have been the one in the 991.2 Porsches with where you could actually do gear selection and have something nice to hold and sturdy to hold on to while you're driving, like as if you had a manual. I would have preferred that. I hate this. Like, if Porsche is watching this, or they come to watch this video, get rid of this and put a regular shifter in there. You can make it a little bit smaller, like the BMW M4 shifter, if you want to make it more slick. But get rid of this little thing. Get a regular shifter in here that we can go up and down on the gears if we want to. But you have your park, your manual. You have paddle shifters. They're kind of small, and you know, they're not. There's a lot of aftermarket ones you can put on. You've got your exhaust control, so we can open up the exhaust and we'll drive the car and let you hear that. You have your sport mode control, sport plus, or putting it back in normal, and we'll turn the exhaust back off. You have your digital dash on the left and on the right, so you can control what's shown on the digital dash by going up and down, you know, on this little selector here. Right there, you got even can put a map on there, which is pretty dope. All right, so yeah, digital dash, and then the tachometer is still analog, so it's still, you know, revs just like the old Porsches, which is pretty dope. And you got your controls over here for cruise control, your blinker, your lighting controls. This is how you start the car with this right here. Like I said, we'll do a how to drive video where we'll get into all of the switches and controls for using this car, which will be a really thorough, probably a 30-minute video. So stay tuned for that and subscribe if you want to see that. But let's review this car on how it drives, what I like about it, what I don't like about it. And for those that are watching the BMW video, we'll talk about the comparison between the BMW M4 and the 911 Carrera. All right, so let's take this Porsche 911 Carrera T for a drive. This is the 992.1. Porsche, and we spec this car pretty good. So it has front end lift, which is very useful. We have it up right now. I like to do, when I review a car, I like to do a checklist, sort of a, you know, the most important things that you care about when you buy a car or you consider a car, which would be like your suspension. How does the suspension feel? How do the brakes feel? How does the acceleration? How does the car sound? The driving characteristics, the steering, the throttle input, you know, along with the acceleration. So let's just start going down the list. I'm just going to randomly pick some of the topics and the things that stand out. First of all, when you're driving this car, first thing you notice is that the car has all of the modern technology that you could ever want in a, you know, a car that was built within the last 3 or 4 years. This is a 2024 model, and Porsche already has released the 992.2 2025 model, which has some minor changes, completely a full complete digital dash, for example, things of that nature. But this is the 2024, and I wanted the 2024 because I still wanted that digital or that analog tachometer, you know, for my speedo and everything. I wanted that, but you still have Apple CarPlay. You've got full digital MMI, which is very useful. So yeah, that's the first feel that you get, is this car has all of the modern. I have like adaptive cruise control. It has all of the modern tech that you would want in your car. BMW M4 also has the modern tech as well, so they're kind of neck and neck in that regard. Now let's talk about some of the driving characteristics, and I'm going to rate some of this stuff on a scale of 1 to 10. So first things first, let's talk about the brakes. How do the brakes feel in the Porsche Carrera 911 T, Carrera T? The brakes in this car, I have the steel brakes. I don't have the carbon ceramics. So first of all, this is not a review of the carbon ceramics. The steel brakes. The steel brakes are excellent. They feel great. They're responsive. You know, stopping power is linear. There's no squeaking or squealing. So I would give the brakes a 9 out of 10. I mean, there's always room for improvement. Maybe a little bit less brake dust. Maybe a little bit more sensitive. But to be honest with you, the brakes are perfectly fine. Like I mean, I give them a 9 out of 10 because leaving room for improvement. All right, the next input you have your steering and your throttle input and your acceleration. I'm going to put the car in sport mode, so you may be able to hear it a little more. Yeah, I love driving this car. All right, so let's talk about it. I'm going to go straight right here. Acceleration and throttle input. I'm going to give you an example of the acceleration. So let me I'm going to slow down here a little bit. Let me show you guys on this view here. All right, let's do an acceleration. First of all, it's not the fastest car in the world, but it kind of feels like it. Like, it's a small car, but did you hear the sound? Did you hear that sound? Man, I give the sound for a stock vehicle, I give the sound an 8 out of 10. The only thing that can make the sound better is if it was louder. Maybe a little bit more, like when you put it in sport mode or in Sport Plus. Maybe if one of those modes would have some loud cracks and, you know, cracks and bangs or whatever, pops and bangs. Maybe a little bit more of that, because this car it burbles a little bit. Like, let's listen. There's the burbles. You probably couldn't even hear it. It burbles a little bit, but I give the sound an 8 out of 10, and it would be better if it was louder. but because you'll get used to it after a while and it starts sounding quiet. But we have a fix for that. We got an exhaust we're gonna put on this car. Now, acceleration, we talked about brakes. Acceleration, I'll rate the acceleration for a Carrera T. It's not the GTS with the bigger turbos. It's not a Turbo S, which has a bigger engine and bigger turbos, and is like a 9-second car almost out of the box, I think. This is like an 11.7 second quarter-mile car, but it feels like it's a little faster when you're driving it, which is good. So I give the acceleration for what it is. I give the acceleration a 8 out of 10. What we got here on the display? Yeah, I give acceleration an 8 out of 10. This technology is crazy, man. They're sending me notifications and stuff. 8 out of 10 for the acceleration. Let me put my glasses on, man, while we're driving this thing. Acceleration, if you had the GTS turbos, this car would probably be perfect. So if you're shopping for a 911 and you want maximum acceleration for a Carrera that's not a Turbo S, then you might want to get the GTS. But you're going to pay a lot more for the GTS with the options that this car has, which is one of the attractive things about the Carrera T. Another attractive thing about the Carrera T is it's built to be a more lightweight spec of the 911. So it has lightweight glass, it has lightweight, I mean, you can get it without the rear seats. You can get this car in a manual, which would save weight. I got the PDK because, well, the PDK is the best automatic transmission of any car that I've ever owned. And I've owned Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and you name it, you know, I've had over time. So this is the best transmission of any car that I have ever driven. So that goes into the review. And the acceleration is, you know, how's the transmission? Transmission is the best. The transmission is the best. So acceleration, I'll give it a 7 or 8 out of 10. But for what it is, it's good. It's really good. It's the fastest. Let me put it to you like this. They rate this car at 379 horsepower. This is absolutely the fastest 379 horsepower car I have ever owned in my life. Like I said, I've owned a lot of cars. So that's saying something. The car feels fast, and it is fast. You know, for a base engine Carrera. All right, so let's talk about the transmission. We're in some stop and go traffic right now. The transmission, like, this can be like a short part of the review. The transmission is hands down the best performance transmission in a car that you can get, the PDK transmission, period. So I give the transmission a 10 out of 10. Not only for how it feels when you're shifting, how fast it shifts, but also the most important thing to me is that when I give throttle input, when I press the gas, I want the transmission and the programming of the transmission, I want that to like respond to my throttle input to give me the right gear for what I'm trying to do with my throttle input. So some cars, like a lot of times there's a problem in Audis. The BMW actually does a good job of the transmission as well, I have to say. But a lot of times in Audis, right, I have an Audi RS3 right now. When I get into that middle, like in that 30% throttle to 70% throttle range, there's a dead spot. Like nothing happens with the transmission when I'm moving the throttle like this, and nothing happens. The car doesn't downshift, it just lugs. And I hate that about the transmission programming in the Audi. In the Porsche, that does not happen. You know, the transmission responds to your throttle input and puts you in the right gear, and it uses all of the 7 or 8 gears that this car has. I think it has 8-speed transmission. So the PDK transmission is the best, 10 out of 10 for the transmission. Talk about the steering. The steering in this car, I'll rate the steering a 8 out of 10. It's geared and set up for more sporty driving. I opted to get the electronic enhanced steering, which would make the steering a little bit easier in parking scenarios or when you're sitting still. It's supposed to make it a little easier, but it's not really, it doesn't help. In Audi, it's super buttery soft steering. I love the Audi steering. The Audi steering gets like a 10 out of 10. Steering in this car, it's like an 8 out of 10. With that, what I paid extra for the enhanced steering at low speeds, it's not that different. It doesn't seem to help that much. So there's room to improve on the steering, especially if you pay for that extra. Whoa, people are driving crazy right here. There's room to improve on the steering. All right, so we talked about steering, we talked about braking, we talked about acceleration. Let's talk about the suspension in the Porsche 911 once we get through this traffic a little bit. All right, let's talk about the suspension in the 2024 Porsche 911 Carrera T. Now, this has what's called PASM suspension, which is Porsche Active Suspension Module or something like that. I don't know exactly what PASM stands for, but basically what it is, basically what it is with the steering, the suspension, is it's active, where you can adjust how stiff it is or how soft it is. To be honest, I haven't played with it a lot. I pretty much use the settings for sport mode and for regular driving and normal mode. But the suspension adjusts depending on what mode you're in. And I had a GT3 991.1 and a 991.2. The suspension in my GT3, even though it's a sports car, Porsche, was the absolute best suspension I've ever had in any car that I've ever owned. This car is not quite as good as the suspension setup in the GT3, but I would rate this suspension, especially when you're comparing it to sports cars out there, I would give it very high marks. I would give the suspension a 9 out of 10. 8 or 9. Let's say an 8.5. All right, let's do an acceleration. All right, so now let's compare. You know, if you're thinking about the BMW M4 Competiton versus the Porsche 911 Carrera, well, let's compare the cars, right? So you see what they look like, right? You see the interior, you see the exterior, you see how they drive. But which one is the right one for you? And this is my opinion only, so just take it with a grain of salt. I own both of the cars, but if I'm looking for the better bang for your buck, it's hands down the M4. Better bang for your buck is the M4. If I'm looking for, I'm not going to do it. If I'm looking for the more exotic car to take to the car shows, to do some canyon carving, to do some track time, then I would recommend the 911. Okay. If you're big on sound like I am, the M4, it sounds good. You know, I have an aftermarket exhaust on it from AWE. Shout out to AWE because they make the best exhaust for these cars. Definitely for the M4 and for other BMWs. So I do have an exhaust on my M4, and it sounds decent. But compared to the Porsche 911, especially inside the car, the 911 has the much better sounding 6-cylinder engine. Now, if you're big about power and you want the car that has the best tuning potential and will be the fastest vehicle, then you probably want the M4, right? You can tune an M4 to be a 9-second car with some pretty basic modifications to it. Whereas with the 911 Carrera T, you can tune it as well. You can get it to be a low 10-second car, fairly easy. But you know, if you want to go into the 9s with the Carrera, you're going to be doing a lot of mods to it. Whereas with the M4, it's going to be cheaper to mod it, and the car is going to be faster, like hands down. So if you're looking for the faster platform with the most modding potential, then you want to get the M4 for that. All right. But if you're weekend canyon carver, semi-exotic, then than the Porsche 911. Now, if money is not an issue and you're not trying to see who's the fastest, which are the clear-cut differences, the Porsche is a lot more than the M4, significantly more, let's say. But the M4 is significantly faster with mods. Stock for stock, they're kind of comparable. They're both mid 11 second cars. Now, but if money is no object and you want the car that's more fun to drive, maybe gets a little bit more attention, then you get the Porsche 911 with the aero kit. And or if the aero kit's not your thing and you just want to have a nice drive, you still want to get the 911, man. This car is more fun to drive than the M4 for sure. The sound is a big part of that. This car sounds awesome. And then you got the best transmission in the business. You got super, great acceleration. And I mean, this is a very well put together car. If I had to keep one, it would for sure be the Porsche. And there's a significant difference, it seems to me, in the build quality and the materials of, I'm not going to say the materials because actually BMW materials are pretty good, but the build quality of the 911 seems to be better than the build quality of the M4 Competition. So that's my take on comparing both of these vehicles. I would choose the Porsche 911 if I had to keep one. Even though the M4 is spectacular, daily driver, especially with xDrive, you can build that thing up to be a monster supercar killer, as proven on my channel. So that's my 2 cents on BMW M4 Competition versus the 911 Carrera T in this example. Hopefully you found this video informative, and hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you in the next one. Hit that like button for me and subscribe if you want more content related to the Porsche or the BMW M4. Drop me a comment.
It's the one and only Floyd Money Mayweather. I'm here to tell you guys to go to Wheel Motivation. The exotic cars is crazy. I've been watching this show for a little while now and it's growing. But we need everybody else to subscribe to Wheel Motivation and support Wheel. I'm supporting them. You do the same.